Listen, it's a lot of things that need to be resolved out here, in the tunnel, as we call this space that is filled for residents, that people that does not have nowhere to go. Now, a lot of people want to tell that they don't belong here, that if you live in the building that you're not homeless. That's not true. I live in a shelter with my family and my wife, and we are still homeless, you know what I'm saying? But it's the positive things that we think about, not the negative things. It's the positive things. You know what I'm saying? We thank God every day that we can wake up and we can walk around and we can see. You know what I'm saying? Now, me personally, when you look at me, you don't think that I'm homeless until I start speaking. Yes, I am homeless. Am I looking for housing? Yes, I am. Do I need it? Yes. I have 2 small kids that needs housing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a lot of things that goes along with being out here. It's a lot of things that goes along with the word called homelessness, because just because you live in the building does not signify that you're not homeless. Just because you get 3 square meals a day does not mean that you're not homeless. There's people in jail right now that has a bed to stay in, that has meals, they get commissary, but when they come out to the real world, they have nowhere to go. That's pretty sad, you know what I'm saying? It hurts me to see people out here living like this and then being harassed by people, telling them they gotta move their stuff, that they can't stay here. You know what I'm saying? That's not right. You know what I'm saying? Yes, we do need help. We're looking for everything that's positive to help us in our situation. We're looking for all positive helpers, all positive lenders, all positive people, period. I don't care if you're a business owner or you're a little man trying to get a business. We need help. You know what I'm saying? Loyalty is everything down here, dealing with me personally. You know what I'm saying? If I love somebody and I be loyal to that person, then I'm gonna watch out for them, no matter if they're homeless or not. You know what I'm saying? Any money that I do have that I come across with, I feed the brothers. You know what I'm saying? There's never a time where I think about myself. You know what I'm saying? There's always a time where I'm thinking about the next man. You know what I'm saying? I could be out on the street by myself, you know what I'm saying? I think about somebody else. You know what I'm saying? It's the things that's going on out here. Like I will always tell somebody, you don't know what a person is going through if you live in the house and you're secure in your walls. You're not thinking about the next man. You can't tell a homeless man how to live his life or how to survive if you have a place of your own to live. That's something that you can't do, because you can't know what this man is going through in his mind, in his body, in his soul, until you actually come out here and see what these people is going through. Or going through it with yourself. As you look behind me, you see tents of how people live. This is their residence. This is like their mini apartment. They keep it up though. You know what I'm saying? Some people treat it like it is a home, because this is their home. You know what I'm saying? But we're all striving for that one special thing, and that's a building or permanent housing that we can call our own. It's a fight out here every day. It's a fight. It's a fight. People are fighting out here. You know what I'm saying? Because they have to fight for their place to live, man. It's a lot of stuff that goes on down here that people does not know about. I'm not afraid to tell the shit. I'm not afraid to tell it, because I believe if one person speaks up, he can help the village. I'll be that one person to speak up for the homeless, because I'm homeless myself. I'm not a man coming out of no house that I got a bed to lay in every night. I can leave and go as I please. I'm a man that has a curfew when I have to go into a shelter. I have to eat food that's not even cooked. This is the situation that we going through. This is the situation that we have out here. We have to survive on our own. Ain't nobody helping us. That's why I'm asking y'all out there in TV land to help us. I'm asking you that. I'm asking for you to help us. Yes, I do. I reside at the Salvation Army shelter. They're not helping. I would say that to anybody that's in a predicament of being homeless, or in a predicament, or you already homeless. You try to do it on your own. Certain shelters will help you, certain shelters won't. You know what I'm saying? The shelter I live in, it's not going to help. My case manager, she does everything she needs to do to try to see that I'm safe and secure. I thank her for that, because it always takes one person to help a village. You know what I'm saying? If you're struggling, if you're out there and you have nowhere to go and you're struggling, you have to fight. You find you somewhere. You do what you gotta do to protect yourself. If you have kids, you do what you gotta do to protect them. There's nothing wrong with being homeless. I would never look down on a homeless man because I'm one of them. I'm a part of this clique. And we're gonna get up out this mess together. I'm not gonna leave my brothers behind. I don't believe in that. I believe if I get help, I could bless the next man. That's exactly how I think. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to say thank you for the people out there that is listening. I hope we do get help. My name is Harold Jones. I'm from the Salvation Army shelter. I have 2 kids and a wife, and this is my family out here. So I thank you, and I ask you if anybody's out there to come and help me and my family. Everybody that's under this tent, no matter if you're white, black, Hispanic, or not, they're my family.
You look good on camera.
Thanks, Rob. You know what I'm saying? We all family. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and if you want some good food from a real homeless man, talk to Robert Earl.
Yeah, I'm that nigga. I'm Robert Earl. And I cook and do everything around here to try to keep everything what little bit is organized so we can eat and so we can just stay out of the way of all this other shit that's going on in society. So you guys just come on. If y'all can help us, help us. If you can't, you can't. If you don't want to, it's all up to y'all.
He's a great cook. He's a great cook.
Sometimes I don't know. Things could be for the better, things could be for the worse. Been there, done that. So, if you guys looking at these photos, you'll see this. You'll see we're not evil people, violent people, we're needy people. Is it on?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, happy Veterans Day. Today is 11/11/2016, and it's approximately 5:05 p.m. So we'll be recording for the next 3 days.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be recording for the next 3 days. I'm an ex-gang member myself, so I got him. He's safe with me. Happy watching. The bad thing about this whole recording is Joe should have came on the days when it's warm. It's a little risky out here now. So a lot of the residents, should I say, in Tent City, ball up, cuddle up, bungalows. They get in their tents and you don't see nothing. There's nothing out here. But since he's gonna be recording, he know how to work the camera good. You guys can get an insight on a little bit of what goes on here. It's a great thing for people who care about us because we get donations, and that helps. Food, clothes, blankets during the fall and winter seasonings, cigarettes. Thanks to Joe. And all right, what are the questions?
What does it feel like to be down here?
Depressed. And I speak for the community down here because of the housing situations that's going on. I don't know if the budget is run out or what, so the newcomers here, we have to suffer. We have to wait. It doesn't happen overnight. And because of that, people are stressed out and depressed. You have sick people. You have ancient. What is that word I'm trying to say?
Ancient?
Not ancient. Anxious. Yeah, anxious people down here. They need housing. I'm a patient man. I'm a little over 19% Cherokee Indian and Blackfoot Indian, Afro-American. So I've been out here for about 28 years, on and off. So I know how to survive the elements. But for those who don't know how to survive the elements, God be with you. I've seen people freeze to death. I've seen people lose limbs. All that stuff there. A lot of residents down here turn their attentions to alcoholism and other substances to get their mind off the pressures that they're receiving now. I mean, but what can we do? I never thought I'd be put up for an interview. That's wild.
See, other than alcohol, what's the most common drug use?
Opiates. People use opiates. Prescribed medications like Alprazolam, Narcos, stuff to calm them down. I don't know that other one, but they use it too. It's another one though, it's Narcos, and it's another opiate that they use. Now, the doctors are finding out, medical research assert that it's too addictive or addicting. So now what they do, instead of giving them antidepressant medications, they give them antipsychotic medications. Imagine what kind of world we're living in now. You have these two medication groups, and the people taking these medications sometimes don't know how to react off the drugs. I think they need new doctors.
What's the most violent action you've seen here?
Oh, well, a lot of the residents down here are ex-gang members, so they have issues and protections. If something should happen to one person, we'll call up their nephews, and there you go. You have it. Not all the time, but sometimes it occurs. My best suggestion for that is to just get out the way.
How long have you been homeless?
Off and on, 28 years. And I'm not moving into no place unless they allow me to have a puppy. I've survived the elements many years. We're only looking at 4 or 5 months of winter. It's nothing, as long as you know how to element. as long as you know how to layer up. Matter of fact, I would rather have a buffalo, a 44 Magnum, and a pit bull, and they can give me a teepee, and I can live out here forever. But you got the government. These people need to be housed. Well, why aren't we housed then? Do we have emergency funds? No. And if we do, where are they? So we just sit and wait. There's a lot of pain down here, so all you do is go to sleep, wake up the next day, and hope that one of your case managers said, like, hey, Robert, we got you the apartment.
Why is it so difficult to find housing?
Budgeting. A lot of issues with housing is budgeting. Budget cuts, misused and mistreated funds. Oh my Lord. I can go on and on and on with this. By the end of the third day, you guys would have gathered enough information and you can understand the crisis down here. Seriously. Thank God it's not like Lebanon or Syria or both or Iraq, where there's tent cities everywhere. Millions of people. There are kids out here. There are young adults. There are elderly people out here. And I think people should give, if you want to give something, give it to some people who raises funds, who can help us with housing. That's all we ask.
Well, what's the hardest part about living here?
About living, being patient. And understand me, I can't stand that word patience. But, given my history, you have to develop patience. That's it. That's the bottom line. Clean around your area. Stop hoarding all kind of unnecessary foods and garbage. Residents come through here with kids, grandmothers, grandfathers, uncles, aunts, aunties, whatever that is. But the main issue is housing. That's it. 18 years ago, I would go collect wood and plastics and beddings and blankets from garbage cans and build a cubby spot, and I would stay, and I've saved lives in that cubby spot. A lot of people almost froze to death. I'm supportive. I'm with the advocates for the homeless, but I'm also homeless. I ain't mad at you. I'm just too young to collect Social Security. That's another 10 years. God, Lord, help me. I don't want to be out for 10 years. A couple of years is enough of this. I was just introduced to this area back in May of 2016. Unfortunate reasons, unemployment. When the depression sets in, a lot of people can't deal with society, the rat race over there. So we seek shelter. They can't deal with the elements out here. Rain, snow. It goes on and on. But like I say, by the third day, you have enough interview information to see what's going on. Now, if you see my face on there, don't just come down here, oh Robert, I want to help you. No. It's a community of people down here. Help everybody. And that's all I'm finna say right now. To send an ambulance, there's a man laying down on the side of the off-ramp viaduct on the southeast corner of Lawrence and Lakeshore Drive. I said, get him there immediately. Now, she was talking about all kind of vital signs, is he bleeding and all that. I'm like, look, baby, I don't know nothing about that. I said, get an ambulance. Get an ambulance here right now. I told him.
Should have told her he was just passed out on the grass.
I told them he was laying out on the side of the road.
Yeah, he could have got hit. Who's the old guy?
Yeah, the old man right there.
He back?
Yeah, he back. He all right. He gonna check Charles' phone to see Charles called a little later than me. See, I was there first.
But did they come right away?
Oh yeah, they came right away.
We're good with that.
They came right away. Dolores, get this to Michael.
Just go to my.
Get that to Michael. He like
Damn right.
Yeah, extra large and double X. And then for the ladies, about 5 or 6 ladies down there. Huh? Yeah, right here.
Got this for my boy.
Give me a psycho. Okay. Okay. Yeah, come back and get us. My name is Robert. And this is Brian. Okay. Thank you.
She don't need a third?
Okay. Thank you very much. This is for Carlos, because I got to get my jacket back. Hey, Mama. We got some clothes here.
Clothes.
Yeah.
You're not sure. What those micro-
Socks at.
Socks
at.
at.
Yeah, I'm peeking. Okay, all the stuff
How you doing, brother? I just come over here to say hello. I'm telling you.
Here goes some purses.
Those are nice.
Oh, stop it. That didn't sound right.
No. You know I mean.
Purses.
Oh, who wears size 8 jumpsuit? I got some brand new.
God damn, girl.
I ain't taking them off. What size are these?
Take them off.
No, I was just looking.
Take them all here.
I wouldn't wear them all.
What up?
Who wears
How
size
you
8?
doing today?
How you doing?
Size what?
8.
I wear. No.
Oh, here. I got brand new Nike.
Ooh, I like this apple bottom.
Yeah.
Once in a while.
Beat your motherfucking ass again.
No. Born and raised here. 62 years ago.
Just about. And it's just gone down.
You know your bag.
Gone down. Years ago, there's rich white people over here. South side, there was well-off black people. Everybody minded their own business. Everybody had a job. All the black people that because of them had their own place of business.
What's up, Psycho?
So that's why I was still trying to keep working. At least till I was 65, I wanted my own place of business. Papa going down another way. All his son's father had his own place of business, and he had about 4 homes over there. And he also worked for the city. My father also worked for the city. He got sick. All his son's father worked for construction for the city. He helped to build a Cook County jail. Did a lot of work over on the south side, especially the
They're
freeway.
coming through. Y'all got to move out the way. Here come family. Yes, and the tobacco in the pouch. There's tobacco in the pouch with papers in it.
We used to put our doors open. There wasn't no.
I don't need the tobacco. I just need the
Right,
papers.
so nobody do it. Nobody do it. None of my that over there from American.
Save me here.
We had real police officers back then. Back then, they bottom
I did
the ground.
You got some?
Ask
questions.
What you finna roll?
Ask questions later.
I don't smoke no weed.
Why they slap you to the ground? You tell what you do.
If I smoke weed, I'm gonna be 1,000 pounds.
But man, you had real police officers. We all had to go to school here in the state of Illinois. It was mandatory to go to school. They didn't give a damn. We so poor, we had no shoes on our feet. Truant officer, Mary Dillon Sr. would have, or they would all have a truant officer at our house with the police. Make sure
You gotta film everything now.
I had to go to school here.
It's a lot?
We would get on drugs in the project was sad. A lot of my best friends died in Robert Taylor Project. Keep all the air out when it's down.
Yeah. It
I
does.
keep mine down and we just broke in half.
So I just wanted to know where that rice was. You got that rice.
Huh?
I just wanted to know where you got that rice from, because I want a
I
barbecue.
will don't look. I don't waste my butt. Oh, nothing but necessary things while I'm out here.
Beer
I don't
and
drink.
cigarettes.
Like I said, I don't drink.
I do.
I don't. You just
I
stop.
have to do
That's
something.
something the Lord can stop you
I
from
have
doing.
to do something to
That's
calm
something
me
you
down.
would please to spend your money on food. That way you wouldn't be looking around for some money for no damn
Not
steak
turning around
if
and
you
feed
stop
everybody.
spending
and
money on
nobody help
alcohol.
me feed them.
You don't need no alcohol. That's just your mind playing tricks on you.
No, that's your mind.
No,
playing tricks
your
on you.
mind. I don't drink.
You don't give
Only
me a
people that
beer.
drink is the people that mind is all distorted with alcohol.
Right.
And make your mind play tricks on you. What's up, most, young man?
All right.
That I know what's up, most. And be the cirrhosis of the liver. And having a damn kidney machine as well.
Right.
My best friend, she was over 45 years old. She was 6 months older than me. She would have been 60 this
No, she
December.
was not.
She died on a damn kidney machine because of those stinking ass beer.
Oh, here come baby. Here come baby.
Goodbye. I got one. Right? But you can leave that alcohol alone and went to buy some food.
Somebody traveling a little too far back. You got babies come through here. They have
Especially while I'm out here.
children, grandpas, and
Drink
grandmas come through here, so we try to keep the viaducts as clean as we can.
Because
That's
there's
the
no
only thing we can
bathroom
do.
out here. I have to really go to the toilet.
Okay, girl.
That's why I can't eat after 6 o'clock in the evening. I can't eat nothing out here.
All right.
I ain't no damn bathroom, nothing. All right, I hear appropriate for me to go to no toilet.
So you got
no
that-
park open around here.
Mama, you got that bag of seasoned rice from Jules, or did you
I'm
get
on my way to Jules. I'll pick you up another bag of seasoned rice now, ready to receive.
Okay. Bring me the
It
receipt.
come from Jules.
All right, love.
A lot of people sell it. Any big store sell it.
Here's to you kids. It should be a Budweiser, but I can't afford it. Now listen, the camera's running, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes when you have situations, lights out, when you have situations that occur down here, we all band together and try to resolve it. I'll tell you one thing, and this is the truth. Cameras and microphones and cell phones are in now. You can't debate them. It's a little warm out there tonight, so everybody's out. You know, acting stupid. You know, we only human. I cooked and grilled a lot of food up today for everybody. So, everything's fine. I'm hoping and praying that I get my darn apartment soon. I gotta get them out of here. But this is the only refuge right now. Normally the violence occurs when we have a disagreement and misunderstandings. Usually it's peaceful. But the slightest little thing, like uncle falling out and that situation there, can turn into a serious situation. Fortunately, with the camera and the phones and all the stuff, it was settled. But like I say, you got a lot of people down here on psych medications. Yeah, being in the situation we're in, you kind of get stressed out. So, but a lot of people are lonely. Not necessarily lonely, but stressed out, depressed, unemployed. 70% of the people down here doesn't have income, and what should I say? They're unable to function in society properly. They can't do it. You give them a job, they'll probably be laid off next week because of their disposition, mental breakdowns, anxiety, depression, stress. A lot of people down here suffer from bipolar, schizophrenia, ADHD, MDD, OCD, PTSD, and the different things. They just can't function in society for some reason. A lot of them would like to stay down here. Too bad this is not California someplace where it's nice and hot. They would never leave this place. We have mothers living in tents next to their sons. We have old people, group of people. Psychological issues. People just F you. Yeah, they just messed up. I don't know what to do. I'm just hoping I get out of here. So the things he's saying is they're going to close down all the SROs around here and the shelters. He said they're giving people like $2,000, maybe $2,000, $7,000.
If you lived in a nightmare,
they close that building, they're gonna give you money. Then they're gonna find houses to put y'all.
So what did they say about the viaduct?
I don't even know. I don't know what they're gonna do with y'all, man. They need to hurry the fuck up.
I know they do.
Because winter's just around the corner, and I feel for anybody to live on these streets, I've been homeless, but if you live on these streets and y'all good as long as y'all got y'all tent.
Yeah.
But man, this one is gonna be a hell for winter.
Yeah.
A hell. So
I know it's gonna be a bad winter.
yep.
We got issues going on around here where they're closing all the shelters, they're closing all the SROs due to, like you say, reasons out of my understanding. So, I mean, so what are they going to come down here? Eventually, that's what's going to happen. We're going to have people on this side in tents and people on this side in tents if they're closing all these places down. Financially, people are not stable enough to move and take care of their own shit. They need help. These different organizations that's been funded to help us with housing, they are not coming through. Heartland, Thresholds, a lot of these places is pocketing a lot of that money, and they are not helping us. So what are we to do? Boo!
I'm Nubia. Hi, you guys.
Tell them you need housing, honey.
Huh?
Tell them you need housing.
It's me housing. I have a loving, beautiful husband.
Yes.
And me. My husband has a job. I'm working on it. We really want to get out of here, but you know.
Oh, a light.
Anyways, yeah, it's cold. It's getting cold, and my husband has his job, and right here by this lake, I'm gonna fight out. It's cold, and I don't know. I'm tired of being here, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm really
This is
tired
no
of being
place
here.
for a woman.
It's not really.
Women have more things to take care of, toiletries and all that stuff, than we do. So I know this is no place for a woman, especially an old crippled woman. Shit, get us out of here.
Please get us out of here.
Please.
What's going on over there? Thank you.
Thank you. I lived many winters out here, in and out of these housing situations. And at that time, they didn't allow you tents. You had to carry all your belongings. You slept on cardboard boxes and plastic. This little temporary tent thing, it helps. Yeah, it kind of helps a little bit. It kind of gives the people down here some sense of meaning. Thanks to different organizations, church groups, people of concern, Coalition for the Homeless, that we do have something to look up to. Without them, we'll just be lost.
Nos bendecimos, Padre, y hoy declaramos que tú abres las ventanas de los cielos y derramas bendición hasta que sobreabunde. Llénalos en este día, Padre. Toma control de su vida, Señor. Toca sus corazones. Llena sus vidas, Padre.
Los queremos mucho. Que estén bien. Hasta luego.
Sí, gracias por el arroz y la sal.
Sí, de nada.
Sí. Gracias, hasta luego, cuídense.
Hasta luego, bendiciones.
Que los bendiga. ¿Ah?
Basically, some of the simple things in life that I just like. taking swims at midnight, usually about 2:30 in the morning when it's nice and warm and the water's up to like 78 degrees. I'll go swimming at a full moon. I'm a Blackfoot Cherokee Indian. I'm over 19% Blackfoot Cherokee Indian and Afro-American. So that kind of helps with why I like to like the elements. I love the elements. I love the seasons. Winter, spring, summer, and fall. I like rain, snow, sleet, sun, wind, water, fire. I like people. Yeah, I like people. Parties, parades, art, theater, classical music. I have friends and family from Sweden, and I usually listen to the Swedish, that part, music. I like folk dancing, big band music, opera. Some of those things, probably few, it's some of the simple things in life that I like. Helping people, sometimes you have to help people. So that's about it for that. At this moment, I'm kind of sweeping and cleaning up around the tents and the sidewalks, because even though we're out here, it doesn't necessarily mean you got to live like you're homeless. Yeah, I'm kind of cleaning up here, so he's going to document the sweeping and all that stuff that goes along with staying out here in autumn. The leaves fall and they get everywhere. So instead of waiting for streets and sanitations to come clean, as a community, we get together and we clean. So that's what you're about to witness now. There's nothing I can't cook on that grill over there. I'm going to have him record my grill. And that's where 45% of the meals come from. So, they are. Everything about the documentary is natural. Thank you. Give me a hug. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna go ahead with today's schedule and try to. I'm gonna get my stuff ready to cook. This child here is hungry. I got to introduce him to some Blackfoot, Cherokee, Indian, African American food that's gonna stick to his belly. He's become a great person in my life here. We're doing a documentary, so I don't know if you guys mind being videos. Anyway, so these are, I don't know if they're from a church or whatever, but they are people, advocates of coalitions for the homeless. They're gonna feed us, pass out sandwiches and pops and donuts. A lot of people come with toiletries and all that kind of stuff too. So, film on.
Okay.
Come on, pass out. Come on, let's go, Jordan. First, you gotta end do the walk. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Nubia, Carlos, let's get food. Come on, walk down.
Oh, thank you. Lemon cheese? It's turkey. Oh, thank you.
They go up and down the viaduct here. They're just sleeping out here in the cold freezing. That's a good thing for you guys to learn if you go out boy camping, Boy Scout camping and stuff like that. But see, what we do is we got a coalition for the homeless. This is the people in Gorgeous that fight for us until we get housing. We'll be on housing. So one day you'll be a big man and you might can help people out there.
Are those bicycles?
Those are stalactites. And when they form on the ground down here, it's stalagmites. You learn that.
It's like it's minerals, right? It's mineralization.
Bipolar, schizophrenia, PTSD.
What's that?
ADHD. Mama can tell you.
Mental illness, right?
Mental illness. So, and they cannot function in society like a normal person can. They can't even operate a smartphone. I can't even get the keypad on the smartphone. No, I don't have it. I don't know how to operate it. When I was born, all we had to do was drop a dime and a telephone and use it. Now, today, technology is so advanced, you guys, and then you hit the computers and all that old crap.
Dime's like
Man,
$10.
well, God bless you.
Okay.
I love you guys.
You as well. Yeah, we're gonna go across the street. There's more people across the
Okay,
street.
now, I can pass the rest of this stuff out
We
if you
can go
want.
across the street.
Okay, watch your car.
Okay. Here, we'll cross all together.
Go both ways. Now stop. I'm going to hit you. No, I'm good. We have individuals coming down here. I think this is just a private family. Who are concerned about the homeless. They're coming down here passing out sandwiches and water. You know, God bless them too.
It's not a whole lot, but it is something that so you know that you can possibly.
Their heart today, God. Oh, bless the name of Jesus. Oh, bless the name of Jesus. Let them open up their hearts to you today, God. In the mighty name of Jesus. Oh, we thank you, Lord. In the mighty name of Jesus. Oh, God, we thank you today, God. Oh, God, we give you glory. Oh, God, we ask you for peace in this place.
God comes first.
Right.
And
Amen.
God has His reasons for us to do what we do.
That's right. That's right.
I'm here for a reason. I got a house in Park Ridge. And I got a townhouse on Bell and Howard. I could be in the house, soaking in the bath, I ain't got to be here. My reasons to be here is to help.
Praise God.
And show people there is meaning. Even though you're homeless. So I try to do the best I can to do what I can to help people.
So what I said was a confirming word then.
Yeah. I ain't got to be here. I can go home.
Praise God. Well,
I don't want to go home.
I pray for your work here then. Pray that God will give you a desire to fulfill your work here.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Amen. All right. Praise God.
Here, oh, bless your name, God. 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 Magnify you, God. We thank you, Jesus. We thank you, Jesus. We thank you, Jesus. Oh, Father, every spirit that's not like you, we come against it right now. In the mighty name of Jesus. Oh, Father, God, have your way in this place, God. I plead the blood of Jesus right now.
Please go down that way.
Jesus. We're right here. We're going to manifest God's spirit, whether you want it or not. Have your way, Holy Ghost. Tear down the kingdom of darkness. We come with power today, God. We come with power. We come with power. We come with power. Oh, give a praise, somebody. Give God some praise in this place. Hey, shall not fucking praise. Hallelujah, Jesus. We welcome you. I want to go to your fucking house and sleep with you. Come on in spirit, Lord. In the mighty name of Jesus. We thank you, Lord. We glorify you, God. Oh, Father God. Then give us the spirit of fear.
You ain't a Christian woman, you're a fucking
everything
fake.
that's not like you, Lord. In the mighty name of Jesus.
All this fucking screaming, I gotta go to work today and get some rest. This fucking people over here screaming, I asked the girl.
We speak love in this place, God. We speak love in this place.
So what? She said no. I worked 13 hours yesterday, and I gotta leave. So go around that way and do it. That's all I asked the girl to say. Okay. Yeah, there is.
We come in your name, Jesus. We come in your name, Jesus.
That's why I put everybody down.
Then go that way and do it. That's all I asked. I didn't fucking say anything else.
We still give you the glory.
Yeah, there is. She fucking disrespects me.
We thank you, Lord.
Why are you going on fucking house screaming when she's trying to get rest?
These are people coming to help.
Oh, we
Somebody
still
take
love
it that way.
you.
That's all I asked. I didn't fucking say anything crazy about it. I'm very polite. I said, please go that way.
Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah, Jesus. We thank you, Lord. Oh, we send an atmosphere of praise to you, Lord.
You wouldn't use your religion to
Oh,
praise
we thank you, Jesus. Oh, bless the name of the Lord today, God. Oh, we thank you, Lord. Glorify you in this place, God. Hallelujah, Jesus. Oh, we manifest your spirit, God. We thank you for the anointing, oh God. The anointing, oh God, has come to destroy every yoke, oh God. We thank you for the anointing, Lord. We thank you for the anointing, God. Oh, bless your name, God. Oh, bless your name, Jesus. Oh, we cry out to you, Lord, for minds today, God.
Yes, right now, Father,
today, God, for souls, oh God. We cry out, God, for
ask you
souls
right now,
today,
Father,
God.
just to manifest
We
your
cry out
spirit
for
upon
souls
this
today,
land
God.
right now, Father.
We
Bless
thank you,
every
Lord.
individual
Oh,
right
we
now,
bless
God.
you, Lord.
Give them every tool. Give them everything that their heart desires right now, Father. We ask you right now, Father, every individual that's in these pits right now, Father, are your children right now, God. Bless their minds. Bless their spirits. Bless their souls. Bless their feet. Bless their hands. Give them everything that they need, Father. Give them everything that they desire, Father. We ask you right now, Father, for peace upon their minds, Father. For every person that told them no, Father, we tell them yes. We say that God is God. You are the King. You are the worshiper. We give you honor. We give you praise. And we thank you today, God.
Oh, God, thank you, Lord.
Every obstacle that they had to face today, Father, every obstacle that they will face, Father, we cast them down in the name of Jesus. We cast them down in the name of Jesus.
People down here from church. What church?
Right now,
All right, so we're here together in prayer. That's what we're trying to do. But sometimes they get kind of depressing.
Let me encourage you.
Stand for it.
Sometimes we give you our testimony. Like I said, we was out here homeless 3 years ago. We didn't have no tent. But we believe and trusted God. Even though times got rough, and sometimes me being a woman, so I can relate to you. Me being a woman, it got really rough and I got angry at my husband a lot of times. But I know the Lord and I believe in God. And God, sometimes we got angry sometimes at each other, but we never got angry at God. Never did that. And if we felt like we was doing that, we said, Lord, forgive us, because it wasn't our heart to do that. Just our situation sometimes makes you angry. You know,
depressed.
It make you depressed. And so, but we kept on believing God and took our minds off the world system. We said, God, regardless what's going on in the economy and the world, you got something better for us.
Yes.
You know, you didn't create us to just to exist.
Yeah.
We're here for something.
Okay.
And now we know why we're here. God took us through that so we could be a testimony to somebody else. And see, when God bless you all come out of this situation, God wants you to go back. I'm coming back to where I was. To tell people and pray with them and say, look, God can bring you out. He did it for us. God is no respecter of person.
Stand straight.
Yes.
He no respecter of person.
Help is on his way.
That's right. He'll do it for anybody. And he did it for us.
Yes.
And God will do it for you. And I just want to encourage you all. We're going to pray for you all, for your housing. You already believe in God, but we're going to touch and agree. The Bible said where there's 2 or 3 gathered together, join together in one unit. God said he'll be a God in the midst. Okay? So we're going to touch and agree. Let me hold on. Thank you.
People right now,
In the name of Jesus.
you know that heart desire,
Oh,
God,
yes,
and this is, oh God, we know that all of us, oh God, are your children,
Oh,
of
yes,
creation, God.
In the name
And
of
Lord,
Jesus.
I pray right now, God,
Yes,
and we know that even in creation,
yes,
God,
God.
that you, oh God, had a plan
Yes,
for
God.
all your
In the name of
creation.
Jesus.
And this is not the plan that you had for them,
yes,
oh
God.
God, or neither for us, oh God. And
Yes, God.
Lord, I pray right now, God, that you
Oh,
would
yes, God.
intervene right now,
Do it
Lord.
right now,
Bless them,
God.
oh God, with housing, oh God.
Jobs.
Bless, oh God, with, oh God, jobs
Yes,
right
God.
now in the name of Jesus. We
yes,
know
God.
that you are a way maker right
Yes,
now,
God.
Lord.
Do
Make
it
a
right
way
now,
right
God.
now in the
In
name
the
of
name of
Jesus.
Jesus.
And Lord, we thank you
Thank you,
for it,
Lord
and we
Jesus.
praise you for it
Thank
right
you, Lord
now
Jesus.
in the name of Jesus.
And guide me on my journey. In the name of Jesus. And I'm saved this day. Amen. Amen. God bless you. God bless you, sister. You're welcome. You're so very
You know, and it's the way it is now is like what they're doing now is they have this little program, this pilot program. They call it a pilot program because they're going to see how it works next and then try it out elsewhere. But they took the people who were living down here in April and they signed them up for a housing program, and that's called the Housing First. It's the Housing First model of housing, which means that they give people a place to live and worry about everything else later. And that's really the only thing that's going to work because the way it is now with the job market and the housing market, the way it is now, you're not going to do anything. I mean, you're not going to get out of this any other way. I mean, 20 years ago, I was also homeless. Okay, but I went and I got a job, and then I rented a room, and I got out of homelessness, and nobody helped me. Nobody helped me at all. But you can't do that today. The way the job market and the housing market is today, you can't do that. I mean, it's so. The job I got then is gone, and the cheap hotel I rented in is gone too. They used to have hundreds of those hotels. They call them working man's hotels because you didn't have any credit check, first month's, last month's rent, all that stuff. All you needed was a first week's rent, and you were in. You know what I mean? And people stayed there 20, 30, 40 years. In those places, and and got along just fine. You know what I mean? But see, with the gentrification of the city and all the cities, those places are being eliminated, and all the affordable housing is being eliminated, and then all the jobs that uneducated and unskilled people can get are also being eliminated. They're all being exported to low wage economies, and so the people who live down here are the people who would be working in manufacturing, would have been working in manufacturing 40 years ago. 40 years ago, there was no real homelessness, but there were jobs everywhere, and there was housing everywhere, so for all intents and purposes, housing was a basic human right back then, because anybody could have it, anybody could afford it. So, and now it's completely different. So yeah, they took away all the Depression era banking reforms. They took away all the different Depression era, the New Deal, all the different subsidies. So now, what's going to happen? So what are the things going to happen as a result? Back to the Great Depression. The financial. There's a big financial crash in 2008 because they repealed the Depression era banking reforms. Now those banks are even too big to fail. Banks are even bigger. So everybody's saying there's going to be an even bigger crash coming. So that's how it is. We're back to the Great Depression. So I'd like to say something about what just happened here with the church group, and it's and truthfully, see, you saw that not everybody appreciated their coming down, and not everybody appreciated what they were doing. And the truth is that they're exploiting us. They know that we can't do anything about it. We can't get away. So they browbeat us. They beat us over the head with that stuff. And it's not so much that, but they're nice about it. These folks are nice about it. But some places like Pacific Garden Mission are not nice at all. But this place, these folks are nice about it. But it's like we don't have a right to our own beliefs. It's like because we're homeless, we don't have a right to our own beliefs. And it's like they're clearly just trying to use us to get themselves famous, to be televangelists. So a lot of us, we don't appreciate that. They really don't care how much they bother us. Dude over there works a 13-hour day. He works a very hard-working man. He's the hardest working man here. But they don't care. Everybody's got to wake up because they're here and they want to very show off how pious they are, anyway, that's the kind of thing that happens also. Every other person wants to take advantage of you in some way because you're homeless, and they think you're not going to do anything about it. Anyway, but that's not the worst thing in the world. That was an example of an example of how that can be bad. So a lot of folks come here; they're very nice. They don't try to do that. They're just helpful, trying to be helpful. So it's by far not always like that. But anyway, that was what you saw there was an example of what I was talking about. So anyway.
it is what it is. But now I'm trying to show this guys the angle on documenting stuff. You have to document the heart of the matter. The people coming and going, people sitting down, people passing out stuff, people arguing and fighting, people crying. You can see all the pain down here. Some joy, but then you can see we are only human. So I hope whoever get their hands on this video, or the group of people that do it, is like humanitarians.
My name is Andy Thayer. I'm with Uptown Tent City Organizers, which is a homeless rights group composed of people who are both housed as well as homeless. The group started a little bit before I got involved.
We're here to celebrate a victory of keeping open the Uptown shelter over at 941 West Lawrence Avenue. The most important thing, I think, to say about this victory, it was not a victory of the politicians, it was not a victory of the wealthy, it was a victory of the community of Uptown who have been hounding this Alderman Kappelman, who have been hounding our mayor and state officials to demand that the shelter that's so urgently needed remain open.
The group began, if I'm getting my timeline right here, I want to say in the spring of 2015, after homeless folks were booted out from underneath the Lakeshore Drive bridge viaducts in the Uptown neighborhood of Chicago.
According to a recent MacArthur Foundation survey, some 48% of adults in Chicago spend over 30% of their income on housing. That's called housing challenge, compared to I believe it's about 30% nationally. So here in Chicago, we've got a housing crisis that leads to people being forced to live in shelters, leads to people being living underneath viaducts.
You know, we started fundraising for tents, providing people tents that need them, the orange tents that really became the symbol of the tent city. Those were all provided by Uptown Tent City Organizers, and for basically a couple of years then, the tent cities were relatively reestablished. The cops came down, they tried to falsely cite people with ordinance violations. We did cop watch, we caught them on tape doing that, caught them falsely citing ordinances that had no applicability at all.
This is why, while we celebrate today's victory, we know it's just the first step. We need to demand a net increase in affordable housing in this city, or else we're going to have many more tragedies like the 941 West Lawrence situation, many more people perhaps dying as they live underneath these viaducts right behind us here.
We need to be very clear what TIFs are for. TIFs were supposed to be for slum and blighted neighborhoods, to improve areas that otherwise would not develop. Look around you. This is not a slum and blighted neighborhood. We have a high-cost high-rise directly across the street. This property faces the lakefront. It's the last huge piece of undeveloped land on Lincoln Park. This is one of the most valuable pieces of property in the entire city. What are we doing with it? We are dumping $15.5 million of our dollars into luxury housing in a neighborhood where our alderman has destroyed over 1,000 units of affordable housing since he came into office.
Semi-senior, and I live in an SRO. I don't know if you all know what those are, but it's like one step up from homelessness. And I've been trying for 5 years through CHA and other organizations to get a one-bedroom apartment. I'm ready to move on and let some homeless people have that SRO. But I don't know, there's no affordable housing for me. I've been real proactive trying for 5 years, and CHA is not helping at all. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with their money, but they're not helping me.
Pocketing. Louder.
And so anyway, I just would ask Ram to please resign. That's it. Please. All right. Thanks.
West Side, the Committee for Justice in Ayotzinapa, looking for justice for human rights in Mexico, and La Voz de los de Abajo, the voice of those below. And what I haven't heard anyone talk about this yet, so I'm going to talk about it. And that's, right now we're hearing, there's a lot of hateful rhetoric from Donald Trump and others, and there's supposedly a lot of opposition to that from the Democratic Party, but I say action speaks louder than words. And while President Obama is deporting more immigrants than any other president, terrorizing the Latino communities in Chicago, in Virginia, in California. His guy here in Chicago, Rahm Emanuel, is doing a different kind of terror in our communities.
We don't need to use public housing to subsidize luxury developments.
That's right.
There are many parts of this city that desperately need affordable housing. We have homeless people living under the bridge a block away. Think what $15.5 million could do for those people. We have schools that have closed within 2 blocks of here. What could $15 million do for the kids in education? We have much better things to do with it than to subsidize luxury development. This is simply one more step at gentrifying Uptown in order to provide money for the developers who then, in turn, of course, give it to the politicians. It's the way this city has been financed, is by developers giving money to politicians, making them huge profits, and then moving on to the next development. We don't want it in Uptown. We don't need it in Uptown. It's totally an improper use of the TIF money. We're going to end it today.
As many of you know, Rahm Emanuel makes millions of dollars and people who lost their houses across the United States. I want you to look up into this building and picture 384 units. If those units were to be sold at $450,000 a piece, you're talking $160 million. And the bank who financed the project would probably make close to $5 billion in 30 years. This is a big business. Look at these people in here. This is what America is all about. It's to take care of our people. We elected Rahm Emanuel to look after the people of Chicago, not to be looking after his best friend's interests, like giving $16 million away. Think about it. This developer is getting free money from taxpayer money that should be going to the people of Chicago to benefit them, to look after them, like the homeless people who are suffering this winter. But we got to do something, people. We need to raise awareness. We need to empower the people of Chicago to demand what belongs to them and not to Rahm Emanuel friends. The fight has just begun. Rahm Emanuel is fractured, but he's not giving in yet. But we need to fight back hard, because this is not what America is supposed to be, where the teachers are protesting, the people who want affordable housing is protesting, people that like Laquan McDonald is protesting. This is not what America is supposed to be. That's right. We can do better as a community. Yes, we can. Can we do better? Yeah. Can we fight harder? Yes. Do you want Rahm Emanuel go?
Every one of
us knows this from so many different ways. We don't have enough money. We can't pay for our housing, the food supply for poor people. I mean, this is a gathering of the poor and the dispossessed. And we've got to look at this thing. Is there not enough? Is there not enough in the world?
Talk in the microphone.
There's plenty in this world. We've got computers now and robots, and they can produce enough 1,000,000 times over to replenish all of our needs.
Strong, stay together, and let's see. Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
I'm Joshua Burdett. I'm an attorney at Lovey and Lovey, and we first learned about Andy Thayer and his potential lawsuit against Chicago City Council back in the summer of 2016. He and other people, including the other plaintiff in the case, the other ultimate plaintiff, Rick Garcia, had been denied access to meetings and denied the opportunity to provide public comment, to speak at the meetings. And so Andy reached out to us and wanted us to take on the case. And at the time, Chicago City Council was viewed as generally untouchable, and you couldn't really bring suit against them. They would never break the law, that type of thing. And so we took a look at the claims very carefully, and the Open Meetings Act is pretty clear. It's extremely clear. It's explicitly clear that you have to have the opportunity to speak at public meetings, and the public has the right to attend. And so based on those primary two factors, we ended up taking the case on, and we fought and won for both of those pieces so far. So we filed for a preliminary injunction, and the other side filed a motion to dismiss. And what we sought was a preliminary injunction allowing people to speak at the meetings. And not only did the judge grant the preliminary injunction, but she actually granted a mandatory injunction, making the relief permanent, and that we won that point, that Chicago City Council now has to allow the public to speak at the full City Council meetings. And also in response to our litigation, Chicago City Council has adopted a seating policy for members of the public waiting in line to get into the meetings. So the practice before the lawsuit was there was this secret reservation practice that a few people knew about, and they would reserve seats. And at two meetings, including the June 22nd meeting of 2016 and the meeting prior to that, those are the two meetings that are named in the lawsuit, people were unable to get in. The people waiting in line without seat reservations, not a single person got in during the first 2 hours of the meeting when the meeting started. And over the course of the case, we learned that it's standard practice for there to be 50 people waiting in line, or 100 people waiting in line, or sometimes even 200 people waiting in line, and yet still not a single person getting in. And that just goes against the fundamental premise and the explicit language of the statute. And so right now, we've won, the public comment piece. They have to be allowed the right to speak. And we've also, in response to litigation, they've come out with a seating policy that allows members of the public to get in without seat reservations. And the piece that we're continuing to fight right now is when final action is taken at a meeting that is not properly open, then the relief contemplated under the statute is declaring all final actions taken at those meetings null and void, nullifying the legislative action that was taken at the meetings. And that includes the TIF ordinance that occurred at the June 22nd meeting. And when that TIF ordinance was voted on, not a single member of the public without a seat reservation was present at that meeting for those first 2 hours, which included the time when that was voted on.
Hi, my name is Andy Thayer. That's A-N-D-Y, last name T as in Tom, H-A-Y-E-R. I'm a member of a couple different groups, the Gay Liberation Network, as well as the Uptown Tent City Organizers Group. With me here today is Rick Garcia, who along with me is a co-plaintiff in this suit. But I should add that there's many, many people beyond us who not only witnessed the events that are described in the lawsuit, but are probably going to be testifying or giving affidavits.
So it's definitely not an isolated incident. As far as we know, none of the meetings leading up to the litigation allowed for public comment at all. And so as far as we know, every meeting then that didn't allow for public comment violated the Open Meetings Act. And it was only, once City Council got rules in place and started allowing people as a result of this litigation and the court's order that they do so, that they allowed for public comment and stopped violating the Open Meetings Act. And there's also the preferential access to the meetings, that secret seat reservation policy, as opposed to the now publicly written policy that's out there. As far as we know, there was never a policy before our litigation. And so it's likely that there were violations in regards to letting people into the meeting and preferential access before this as well.
So the mayor has promised transparency over and over again. And I think we have to say here in the city of Chicago, in this, he has failed, as he has failed in so many other measures. And the only way that we're going to correct measures like this, whether it's TIFs, whether it's police murders, or what have you, is if the people of Chicago truly have the input that they not only deserve, but is mandated by Illinois state law.
So plaintiffs want to get all of the actions that were taken at that improperly closed meeting, the meeting that was not properly open on June 22nd, 2016, declared null and void. And that includes the TIF ordinance, because it's extremely important to them as a matter of principle and as a matter of law that the public be allowed to attend. And that also highlights another point, and that is if all of these actions are nullified, all that means is that City Council needs to vote on them again. If they vote on them again, they can be passed again.
Right now at 11, packing up. People living under viaducts at Lakeshore Drive are gathering their belongings as the city says it's time to move. Good morning, everyone. I'm Erin Kennedy.
And I'm Roseanne Tejas. Marissa Bailey has the day off. CBS 2's Mike Puccinelli is live in Uptown now. He has more on why they're being forced out and also their reaction. Mike, what are you hearing?
Hi. Well, they are being forced out to make way for bike lanes. Behind me right now, you can see the Wilson Avenue Viaduct under Lakeshore Drive. No one is there right now. That's because they have essentially moved across the street. You can see a lot of police over there right now. And as we pan to the right, you can see where the new tent city has been set up here, but a lot of police officers here. And we've been told by representatives with the People's Law Center that these folks have been ordered to take down their tents right about now, or they're going to be forcibly taken down by the city. We're going to roll some video right now taken earlier this morning when they broke down their tents and prepared to move out. That after a judge last week cleared the way for the city to close down the encampment under Wilson Avenue, and also another one at Lawrence Avenue in order to make way for construction. So shortly after 7 o'clock this morning, streets and sanitation crews came in and disposed of whatever had been left behind by the few dozen homeless people who'd been living under Lakeshore Drive. Now, there was a heavy police presence to ensure that the forced removal of the homeless residents remained peaceful, but the police weren't needed as all of the homeless people packed up and willingly left the viaducts.
Our opinion is either give us housing or they should leave us alone and let us live our lives. They get to live their lives, give us housing or leave us alone.
Basically, DFSS is here along with a few of our nonprofit partners, engaging the homeless, offering them shelter or other alternatives, hoping that they accept services so that we can get them into a safer environment.
And right now you are looking at Wilson, right next, just a little bit west of Lakeshore Drive, where the police have formed a line next to this line of tents here. Again, we're told that these tents are going to have to be taken down shortly, or police will forcibly remove the tents and dispose of them. We have representatives here from the National Lawyers Guild, also from the People's Law Office. This could get to be a rather tense situation. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the next hour or so.
My name is Diane O'Connell, and I'm a staff attorney at the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless. I have been doing outreach and legal services with the residents, with the homeless residents of Chicago since 2013, and in that time I have spent a lot of time working with folks who lived in Uptown under the Wilson and Lawrence Viaducts, and also adjacent areas in the park. So back when we heard that there was going to be construction of the Lawrence and Wilson bridges, we started to do some advocacy with people under the bridges at the city level to see if we could secure permanent housing for them before the eviction and construction happened. We did a lot of work setting up meetings with the mayor's office, coming up with funding proposals, bringing residents of the viaducts to those meetings, hosting press conferences and actions. And ultimately, we filed a lawsuit attempting to prevent the redesign of the viaduct, which is planning to place bike lanes on the sidewalk in a blatant attempt to prevent homeless individuals from sleeping on those sidewalks after the construction is completed. And that case is ongoing, and I am one of the attorneys.
Good morning. My name is Louis Jones, and I reside under the Wilson Viaduct. Thank you for attending our press conference, which is led by Uptown 10 Cities Voices Heard, Chicago Coalition for the Homeless, One Northside, and Uptown People's Law Center. We are outside of the Department of Transportation, CDOT, today to talk about our legal action that we plan to take unless the city addresses our concerns. The viaducts at Wilson and Lawrence in Uptown are in great need of repairs, and we absolutely support the investment of our city's infrastructure. But dozens of people call the viaducts home, and we need the city to acknowledge that they will be putting the residents through a lot of pain when this construction begins.
Yeah, so the viaducts provided a very stable, kind of consistent place for individuals to sleep and community for them to rely on, in addition to relying on each other for safety in numbers and support. They also were able to access a lot of food, clothing, case management, medical services, because the viaducts are located across the street from Weiss Hospital, and also was a well-known location for outreach agencies to come. So the Salvation Army came with meals, Threshold, Heartland came with mental health housing services, etc. A lot of religious organizations came there to distribute items, and even just individual people, who wanted to help would come and know that was a place that they could come if they wanted to offer donations. So as a result of being evicted, people lost that community, and many of those people are still sleeping outside, but without the benefit of the shelter of the viaduct. So they've been there was kind of a status quo situation going on with the city not really trying to take people's tents and belongings as long as they were consistently under the viaduct and were, being assertive. But since that, community and sort of status quo was lost, my understanding is, that a lot of people have not been allowed to reestablish tents in the, park area in Uptown. And I think overall it's just been very unsettling. It's been a very cold winter. People have, been surviving, but they've had to spread out, and they have not been able to rely on those same community connections and resources that they had before.
We know from firsthand experience that the Viaducts is not an adequate form of shelter, but we have no choice. We are people who lost our jobs, work but can't earn enough for rent, are disabled, are seniors, and have bad credit or have been incarcerated, therefore can't find an apartment, and the list goes on. We are people. We have nowhere to go, and we now are being evicted by the city from our current refuge, and are being told that the city will do nothing about it. On top of this, the city's proposed design calls for a bike lane to go through the sidewalk rather than the street, which will exclude homeless people from the viaducts in the future. But putting the bike lane on the sidewalk actually means more dangerous for pedestrians, bikers, and other cars. In fact, the official plan CDOT is implemented is called Streets for Cycling 2020. That's streets, not sidewalks. Really? You're gonna put bikes on the sidewalks instead of the streets? Okay, let's go along with that. But back to the measure. We also understand that the roads have less than 19,000 cars a day, only require one lane of traffic. The average daily traffic counts at Wilson and Lawrence Viaducts are less than that. Wilson at Lakeshore Drive has 8,700 cars a day. At Lawrence Lakeshore Drive has 15,500 cars a day. Therefore, we have reasonable to believe that the Mayor Rahm Emanuel and Rebecca Scheinfeld are intentionally discriminating against homeless people with the redesign of the viaduct. Right. We will not stand for this. No. Let's say it again. We will not stand for this. It's totally unacceptable. However, let's go back to the message. We will have no choice but to sue the city if they move forward with this discriminatory plan.
My name is Dalmanic Ali Simmons, and I am a street outreach worker with Chicago Coalition for the Homeless. And in regards to the Uptown incident, or the Uptown Viaducts, I was just hired right around that time. So that was like me being introduced to like street outreach work for the first time. Uptown incident, it was pretty much just about homeless individuals residing under the Lawrence and Wilson Viaducts, and pretty much all of them wanted housing, but there wasn't enough housing for all of them. There were, instances in which we had to pretty much urge the city to try to house some of the individuals that was there, and they did. They housed a few of them, but not all of them. And in particular during, this campaign leading up to the eviction, because they were evicted from under the viaducts. And the city or DFSS would come out and they were telling them that they were, signing them up for housing and would fill out paperwork with them and stuff like that. But come to find out later on down the line, it was like there was no housing for them. So, I took it as though the city was interfering with, what we were trying to do with them and get them active and, fighting for them for themselves, asking for housing. Because right after they did the housing, list with the residents, a lot of them kind of like stopped being active, stopped being, vocal about what it was they wanted, and for a lot of them, it just kind of like fell to the side, and they never got housed.
And then once the evictions began on September 18th, everything and worse that we had predicted did indeed happen. Not only was the city booting people out of the viaducts, they were booting people out from any place that they pitched tents. Now, you can't survive in this city in the winter or even the summer, if you don't have a tent, someplace that allows you to sleep. If you're homeless, you need to sleep. It's a basic human function, and that goes to our 8th Amendment complaint. Part of the complaint against the city is this is cruel and unusual punishment. We're all human beings. All of us need to sleep. If you're going to deprive people of the ability to sleep as human beings who happen to be homeless, you're committing an 8th Amendment violation.
So the residents were given a 30-day notice that they had to leave by September, I want to say it was the 6th, but I'm not, it was one of those dates. So they were given that 30-day notice in August, and in that time we filed a lawsuit trying to get a temporary restraining order to prevent the eviction. However, the judge did eventually deny that, although the case is still ongoing, trying to get an injunction against the bike lanes on the sidewalk. But the day of the actual eviction, I was there, and I had spent, again, on an individual level, a lot of time with people, trying to get them connected with housing resources before the eviction happened. Ultimately, a number of them did get housing, and of course, a number of them didn't. But yes, I was there the morning of the eviction, and folks were, moved their tents outside from the viaduct onto the parkway by the street. I actually had to appear in court on the case. One of the things that the judge did was that she scheduled our TRO hearing for the day of the eviction. So I was, not only was I unable to be present with people while they were going through the entire process, but they were unable to come with me to court because there was this uncertainty about what would happen if they left their things behind.
Safety and security for the Chicago Department of Water Management. Currently, this is the Chicago Department of Water Management property. This is not the Chicago Park District. This is truly critical infrastructure. You cannot stay on this property. Although I sympathize with your cause, and that is the God's truth, I can't let you stay here. If you insist on staying here, your belongings will be removed and complaints will be signed against you. This is not the park district. This is critical infrastructure.
We knew it was happening, so it was like a matter of just trying to head it off if we could, but we couldn't. So that day, the city, Chicago police, a bunch of them, they came through and pretty much had all the residents remove their stuff from under the viaduct. And they wanted to set up their tents, along the curb, along the sidewalk, but not blocking the sidewalk. They was gonna set them up in the grassy area close to the curb. But we're told that if they leave them there, they were gonna be taken because they created some type of safety hazard. And, they decided to leave them there until they were forced to move them. And after this, they went to another area, and right behind that, police and other individuals went behind them, and they kept evicting them from each place they went to. So it wasn't just the viaducts. It's wherever they went after they left the viaducts, the city and Chicago police would go behind them and remove them from there as well.
Shame on you! 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 Stop harassing the homeless! Fight! 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 Housing is a human right! Fight! Fight! Fight!
Love you, Tyler.
Housing is a human right!
Sure. Okay, whatever. We support you. There you go.
Clear the way, please. Thank you.
Hey, dude, we're with you. Hey, we're right with you, dude.
We love you, Tyler!
So So the city did assist some people with permanent housing. My understanding is that number was somewhere around 20 or so people that got permanent housing in the very kind of end before the eviction, so like this summer. And then there were a couple people who got, well, I'll just say at least one that I know of, who got a space in a shelter that she normally would not have been able to access. However, they refused to provide people with, sort of a guarantee of housing. And they also, we had requested some other things that they could do to help people, like, bus cards and storage facilities. And the city, as far as I know, did not do those things. I mean, they told us they were looking into it, but we never got an answer from them.
There's other violations we charge. Attorneys can do this far better than I can. But one of the important ones for me was the First Amendment one, which is that if you followed the press, you followed social media during 2016, during 2017, you would have seen that the 50 to 75 folks who are staying underneath these viaducts, and it was always a constant turnover of folks, people get housed, people move elsewhere and so forth, that these 50 to 75 people were getting far more press than the entire rest of the homeless population in the city of Chicago. Estimated by the city is several thousand, estimated by the Chicago Coalition of the Homeless using federal guidelines on that, it's 82,000 people.
You can come right over here, sir, and avoid a ticket.
These guys will help you out. There's a whole bunch of people over here this week and get you where you need to be.
Well, it's kind of hard for me.
Well, I can help you carry your stuff if you'd like.
Yeah,
there's a family services going to be over here in the morning too. They can help get you a spot. It's about to get cold here, despite our summer weather all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck to you, friend.
Are those papers you need there, sir?
No, I don't.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
There's water over there, sir. You got $20. Okay?
Do you want me to help carrying this?
No. I'm good.
Okay.
I mean, basically, the city of Chicago's homelessness numbers are based on their point-in-time count, which is one night per year in the winter, which I've always thought was a little interesting because it seems like if you're looking for people living on the street and then you go out at the very, very coldest time, you're going to find the fewest number of people. But one night a year in the winter, the city does a count of all the people sleeping outside, basically. And that's what their number is based on. And I think it's 8,000 or more. I don't know, something about like that. But then our number also takes into account people who are sharing the housing of others due to economic hardship. And so, for example, I work with homeless youth. A lot of homeless youth will sleep on couches of friends or family members. And so you're not going to find them out on the street, but then eventually they may end up out on the street, or maybe they are out on the street sometimes, but not other times.
To write a ticket. Come on.
Well, probably what it is, because he's an unmarked car, he doesn't normally do this kind of shit, so he probably doesn't even have the right ticket book.
I'm glad you guys are here.
I know it's no fun.
Here, I had to wait because I have to fill one of these things out.
Okay.
All right?
All
You're
right.
all clear.
All right.
If you're going to do U-turns, pull into the lot and do a U-turn.
Absolutely,
Don't
sir.
go on the sidewalk.
I'm sorry.
All
Thank
right.
you, sir.
Thank you.
In fact, the city of Chicago's own Chicago Public School system says for the year 2016-2017 that 18,000 of their students were homeless. Registered students, not to mention the unregistered ones. Okay, so clearly there's a huge need, and yet why was it that just 50 to 75 people were getting far more press than everyone else? Because they're visible. And that goes to the heart of why the city wanted them out of there. They didn't want to solve homelessness. They didn't want to give people a place to stay. They just wanted people to become invisible. And that's what they've become. And that's why things like you're talking to folks who are homeless right now, or people like myself who are trying to help homeless folks right now is so important, because the city has invisibilized people who are in desperate need out of sight, out of mind. We don't have a problem anymore. That's their basic position, because they have prevented people from erecting tents anywhere in the city. Hi, how you doing?
Oh, fine. We're just counting to see how many people are here, because right now there's really not much we can do with this situation, man. We don't know who owns this property. Yeah.
Boy, that's unfortunate, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they'll know by tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what they said out at Holman Square, too.
It's been vacant my whole life, you know. I mean, I think it's in some trust. Yeah. Like that, you know. That's all I said. There's a grammar school with the kids coming through there.
Well, as long as you guys keep pushing people around out where they were before, you give people less. Yeah, well, your department has. The people employ you. And that's the problem, is that people need a place to go. We don't think this is ideal either.
But it could be some private property that people they're trying to sleep at night. They're going to be noisy
Well,
all night.
Guess what? When this lot gets developed, you think when the construction's going on, they'll be getting more sleep?
Well,
Ever lived through construction?
The city of Chicago owns a lot of empty lots also. Besides, if they don't want to build homes, they could have empty lots. But, it's being squeezed. We know what's going on. And it's just, people can't just disappear themselves.
This is a pilot program for the tiny homes pilot program.
I wouldn't sleep in the Pacific answer. You'd have to.
Were it not for the city intentionally pushing them out now 3 times.
They were going to be arrested tonight at 11 p.m. So now we are here.
Well, but this is technically
private property.
Well,
when the owner comes to us and talks to us,
yes.
we reached out to the owner. When the owner comes and talks to us, until then, we really don't have anything to say.
We're
not breaking the law.
Here.
We're not doing anything. We're all good. People, look how quiet it is.
Well, they're quiet anyway.
Well,
don't stigmatize them because they don't have a place to live.
Did I stigmatize anyone?
Yes. Yes, you did.
How did I do
Absolutely.
that?
By saying that there are criminals in here.
I said there could be.
There
could be.
We could all be criminals. You could be a criminal.
Could be.
There certainly has been a history of that in the Chicago Police Department.
Well, I take offense to that, and I could say you're a criminal. And
Yeah?
Did I say that?
Yeah. Well, I've been arrested before.
I know
Yeah.
you have. I know
Yeah.
who you are.
You see, the thing is that if you really don't want them here, make sure they've got decent, safe, affordable housing.
Yeah.
That's your job, my job, everyone's job. There's nothing I can do about that.
The city isn't doing
I
it.
have nothing to do with the city, do I? I
Yes,
work for
you
the city.
do. You're employed by the city.
Yes, do I have any say in what happens?
Yes, you
How?
do.
Call your union.
Plenty.
If you
have a lot of say-so in it. You're just not trying.
This shouldn't be.
The
police department shouldn't be the default agency that we're dealing with. No, that's what I mean. But because we're getting a million calls from this house. I think you should be disappointed with DCFSS, and you should be disappointed with Rahm Emanuel. You should be disappoined with all of
a lot
them.
of stuff.
Because they're supposed to be they're supposed to be taking care. These are the people who are the most vulnerable in society. So, the Ayn Rand bootstrap argument isn't going to work with people.
I think it's got to be said that this city has got a conscious policy. The mayor's got a conscious policy of destroying affordable housing, because part of his base is the real estate industry. If you destroy affordable housing, it means many more people chasing housing. Rents go up, people get more profits. This has been a conscious policy. It's no accident that the Chicago Housing Authority has got a $450 million surplus now. But at least for the time being, the drama has ceased. Good night, everyone. Please share.
biggest misconception that people have about people who are living on the streets is that they don't care and that they are satisfied with that. And that is completely not the case.
My name is William. I've been on the housing since the age 17. I had got kicked out because my stepfather was like abusive.
My name is Kashmir, and I've been on house for about 4 years. That's a long time.
For people who are stuck in the cycle of homelessness, they need assistance and support from us to help find themselves again. Chicago is a great place for the tiny house villages, but I think the entire country is a great place. We should be doing this everywhere, and Chicago should be taking the lead on it.
Tiny homes is the great alternative being promoted by Alderman Kaplan, for that matter, Ed Burke. Ed Burke, who's like totally tied up with corrupt real estate interests in this town. And anytime someone of Ed Burke's character offers a solution, warning bells should go off in people's heads, because what he's doing is he's promoting a token solution to a massive problem.
I certainly think anything that increases affordable housing options is worth trying. But I do think for some populations it's going to be difficult, just because it just depends a lot on the way that it's implemented, basically. But the idea that you could solve homelessness with tiny homes, to me, is not, it has to be one part of a bigger solution, and we have to expect that for some people it's not going to work. And one reason that it might not work is, it's not really normalizing in an optimal kind of way. Like, ideally you want to have a person assimilate back into sort of the most kind of typical sort of housing that they can, if they're going to sustain it for a long time.
So what is it? Why is Alderman Burke pushing this? Why is James Kaplan pushing this? Because they can look like they're doing something about the problem when they're really not. Because the scale of the problem is far more than anything that tiny homes in this city could solve. You talk to any social service worker worth his or her salt, and they will tell you that one of the big problems they have in terms of getting services to people is simply finding their clients. If they're always on the move because they're afraid of having their stuff thrown out by the city, they can't do that. And you're dramatically adding to stress. And I just can't, emphasize that enough. That the stress that the city has put on homeless people is just unconscionable. Dealing with Chicago weather and winters and so forth, wondering where your next meal is going to come, whether you're going to freeze that night, that's bad enough. But then you have to worry about cops and others hounding you. That's just unconscionable. You got a problem with the way that resources are misappropriated in this town, the amount of theft by rich people in this town, is legal theft through campaign contributions and so forth. It's all Democrats in this town. So don't tell me the Democrats are going to be some great alternative to the orange one in the White House. They're all bad. There's a few people that have the D next to their name that I think their hearts are in the right place, but you're hanging out with a bad crowd. And you're stuck in a machine that will force you to sell people down the river when push comes to shove. And so we really need to break out of this duopoly of supporting either party, because they're both screwing us. They're both screwing us. The businessmen, they know they're screwing us, and they'll throw us a few crumbs to make it look like they care, whether it's a tiny home here or whatever. That look at your history, because your history is hidden from you. I was a history major in college. I've done a lot of reading afterwards, and one thing that I found over and over again is if you want social change, get out in the streets and make it yourself, because the powers that be have got a vested interest in the status quo, and they may mouth all the right words about caring about people and so forth, but most of them are screwing people and very consciously doing it. That people have shown in countries around the world, not just the United States, that you can force the most dictatorial, evil governments you can imagine to do your bidding or even overthrow them, if it comes to that, to change things. That we got dealt a bad hand, a really crappy hand, most people in this world. But history has shown that in spite of that bad hand, that we can take control of our futures and make it very, very different. But we just set ourselves back if we expect the already rich and powerful and connected to do it for us. If we keep on buying their lies every election season, that they're going to give us hope or change or any such thing, that we're the only ones we can count on.
Well, it's, the Uptown situation is sad in a lot of ways, and one of the ways that it's sad is that right now we are putting time and resources into basically fighting for the access to use a sidewalk. The reason that that's sad is because obviously we don't believe people should live on the sidewalk. We believe that people deserve permanent housing. And so, I kind of feel like this is what we've, in a way, this is an example of how dire it really is in Chicago, that we know that there is such a serious lack of housing resources, that the issue of access to public spaces is a necessary argument to be having. And obviously, I wish that we were past that.
Well, homelessness as a whole, like, anybody can be homeless. Everybody that's out there is not a drug addict, is not an alcoholic, or somebody that's irresponsible. A lot of them are, individuals who at one point had good paying jobs. I've ran into, one lady, she was actually, involved in the school system and lost her job and lost her house. A lot of them falls on, bad health issues and can't recover from that, so they lose their jobs and can't pay rent. Landlords don't care about why you can't pay rent. They only care about, okay, you can't pay rent, so you have to go. And unfortunately, a lot of people have, been put in that situation, and once they out there, it's like they can't seem to find a way back. If, we would just, do what we can, and sometimes it's simply, calling an alderman or another elected official and telling them, man, we concerned about the homeless population, and, we would like to see, some real effort put into housing individuals. You know, if we can't do that collectively, then, you know, I can't see anything really changing, because the city has to understand that this is not what we want for fellow citizens. And, you know, if it has to, you know, be us to, you know, march and do whatever and protest and make sure that these people get housed, then, you know, everybody need to be a part of that. You know, this is not just, you know, CCH's, you know, fight. This is everybody's fight. You know, a lot of people don't want homeless people, you know, in their communities because they feel they bring down the value of the community. Okay, well, if you feel that way, then talk to your, you know, elected representatives and tell them to do something about the homeless population as far as housing them. Because, you know, just pushing them from one area to the next is not gonna solve it. You know, they leave your neighborhood today, they back tomorrow. So, you know, if people really want to truly do something about the homeless, you know, issue in the city, tell the city to house them. That's the only way you're gonna solve it.